Over a decade of Marvel movie magic, 21 films in the MCU, dozens of Easter eggs, and hundreds of minutes of action and emotion, it has all led up to this moment, the release of Avengers Endgame. Ahead of Endgame's theatrical debut, reviews for the superhero ensemble started hitting the internet. Critics near and far raced to let their thoughts about Endgame be heard, and you'll want to lend them your ear. Here's what the critics on Rotten Tomatoes are saying about Avengers Endgame. Don't worry, you're entering a spoiler-free zone. There's a lot riding on Avengers Endgame to be a worthy successor to Avengers Infinity War and a capstone to 3 phases of the MCU so far. Thankfully, Endgame seems to have doubly succeeded. Critics say it pays off everything within itself and much that preceded it. Risks of past movies, bets the heroes make here, the lengthy runtime, the stakes and storylines, the plot we won't spoil, everything. Mashable's Angie Han wrote, "The bet pays off. The story feels more organic this time, the emotions more earned, and the interpersonal dynamics richer and more lived in." Den of Geek called the film a totally triumphant payoff, while Susanna Polo of Polygon said there's nothing Endgame sets up that it doesn't pay off. Said David Sims of The Atlantic, "The film earns its length not by overstuffing the frame with opulent action, but by slowing things down and basking in the charisma of its ensemble. Thanos' demand for a dramatic ending in Infinity War pays off here in all the right ways." Russ Fisher at Birth Movies Death agreed, "Rather than closing things down, Endgame opens everything up. This is a genre film with layers of overlapping big ideas, character conflicts that could be flat-out ridiculous if handled with less skill, and deep in-jokes featuring dozens of costume characters. Ultimately, Endgame is an entire movie of payoffs. It plays off and completes thoughts begun in Age of Ultron and Civil War, and even in comics. If you thought Avengers Infinity War was heartbreaking, you apparently have a big storm coming with Avengers Endgame. Critics are advising fans to pack some hankies and wear waterproof mascara when they head out to see the film, as it's packed with tear-jerking emotions of all sorts. Hey, it even reportedly made Captain America himself, Chris Evans, cry 6 times. Insider's Kirsten Acuna wants moviegoers to hit the theater prepared. Bust out the tissues, Marvel fans. Avengers Endgame is going to make you laugh, cheer aloud, tear up multiple times, and cry. By the film's end, there were audible sniffles throughout Insider's 10 a.m. press screening Tuesday morning. Endgame is an emotional punch straight to the gut. You're going to be too emotionally distraught by the film's ending to really nitpick at anything in Endgame. Viewers won't weep exclusively out of sadness, though. As Rosie Fletcher and Richard Jordan at Den of Geek wrote in their joint review, "At times, Endgame is heartbreaking. Expect to cry. But there are certain scenes that border on the euphoric, certain character moments, surprises, and reveals that hit so hard in the heart and the head that it feels like you're MCU drunk." Even Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times couldn't help but be moved by Endgame. "It's a serious contender for the crown, and it's the undisputed champion when it comes to emotional punch. Avengers Endgame is as emotionally affecting as any Marvel movie has ever been." Okay, so we know the movie will probably make you cry, but that doesn't mean the movie is a sob fest from start to finish. Critics have indicated that Endgame features plenty of the MCU's trademark humor, which helps steady the sentimentality. Jake Kleinman of Inverse explained, "Thor delivers some of the best jokes in Endgame, sometimes without saying a word." The Washington Post's Michael O'Sullivan concurred, saying, "As high as the stakes are in Endgame, it is also a very funny movie. It seems one of the movie's most prominent strong points is its ability to mix emotion with comedy and avoid tipping too far to one side." As The Guardian's Peter Bradshaw wrote, "The sheer enjoyment and fun that it delivers, the pure exotic spectacle, are irresistible, as is its insouciant way of combining the serious and the comic. Without the comedy, the drama would not be palatable. Yet without the earnest, almost childlike belief in the seriousness of what is at stake, the funny stuff would not work either." National Review critic Kyle Smith might have said it best when he wrote, "A somber aura gives Avengers Endgame its gravitas. But the movie is also funny, rousing, and above all, endearing. Where there are lovers, there are haters, or in this case, people who didn't fall completely head over heels for the feature. Bold and beautiful as it evidently is, the film still isn't immune from critique. Though the vast majority of reviewers basically gave Endgame full marks, a few critics took a more, critical approach to the film. Forbes senior contributor Scott Mendelson wrote that Endgame is flawed and feels as if it copied certain beats of Infinity War, though it's still entertaining and ties up the threads of the MCU nicely. It doesn't make a ton of internal sense, suffers from narrative claustrophobia, and the action leaves a little to be desired. Avengers Endgame is a merely okay MCU movie, but there is grace in its failings." Donald Clark of the Irish Times argued that Endgame spends too long wallowing in its own pomposity and is short on fun. Christian Long at Glide magazine called it a subversive, compelling, and thoroughly unsatisfying film that chooses to rely on vacuous fan service instead of taking the time to put any real heart into its storytelling. One certified rotten review came from Globe and Mail's Barry Hertz, who wrote, "The entire endeavor loses any sense of emotional stakes or general meaning beyond the deliverance of crass fan service and incomprehensible visuals." It seems that for every fault one could find in Avengers Endgame, 10 times the amount of merits exist. Sure, a handful of critics weren't roused by the superhero ensemble, and that's A-okay. But far more were moved enough to exalt it as a true achievement and stamp it with perfect or near-perfect scores. Why? According to Jermaine Lucier with IO9, the film is everything you've ever dreamed a Marvel movie could be, and then some. Inverse's Jake Kleinman wrote that the film definitely delivers on its promise of big action and bigger heart, with its third act feeling, quote, unlike anything we've ever seen before in the history of the MCU. As the movie finally ended, I felt different, almost as if I was glowing like Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. The result of 11 years of world building has arrived, and it feels like nothing will be the same again. In his review of Endgame, Nick Johnston at Vanyaland said the film is everything a fan could want and feels like an actual ending to the story, writing, "It doesn't feel like a teaser for another movie later on down the line. It's content with satisfying you, the devoted, in the here and now." The Salt Lake Tribune's Sean P. Means offered a similar analysis, writing, "Avengers Endgame delivers everything Marvel fans will enjoy and not much that they expect. Earth's mightiest heroes fulfill their promise in an installment that takes a decade of superhero storytelling and ties it together into an astounding, emotional conclusion." Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about Avengers Endgame are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.